Hello everyone. At this point in time, we've already made 2 videos examining the Muslim TikTok community. However, we're going to put Islam aside, for now, and instead focus on Christianity. So for episode 1 of Christians of TikTok, we'll be responding to China McClain, who has a whopping 16 million followers. I didn't realize it when I first came across her account, but she's actually an actress who used to be on the Disney Channel. But point being, her voice has influence on TikTok. So how about we begin with McClain's video, my response to I need proof that God exists.
I'm gonna tell you a little secret. This building that I'm in right now built itself. Do you believe me? You don't? Why? Have you ever met the builder of this building? Seen the builder of this building? Do you know their name? Yet you believe someone built this building. Why? Is it because the building exists and you know buildings don't build themselves? You're right. It's logical thinking.
It's logical thinking because, as far as we know, a building can only exist through creation. We have numerous examples of buildings being created, but zero forming naturally. However, we know there are things that do form naturally. Clouds, caves, rainbows, lightning. So while it's logical to believe a building exists through creation, it's illogical to believe things can only exist through creation.
So if a building is proof of a builder, and a painting is proof of a painter, and them existing is all the proof you need to know that there was a builder and a painter, why is creation not proof of a creator?
Number 1, your painting analogy makes the same mistake as your building analogy. We only have evidence of buildings and paintings existing through creation. But, as we already covered, some things can form naturally, without creation. Your argument is a false analogy. Number 2, the end of your question is an example of the loaded question fallacy. By using the word creation, you're presupposing what you've yet to prove. Imagine if, after someone died, you asked, why is murder not proof of a murderer? You'd be presupposing the cause of death was murder. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that existence does imply creation. Well, McClain, since you believe God exists, I can also ask you, who created God? Now, you might argue that God doesn't have a creator, that God has always existed, but this would be nothing more than special pleading. If you're going to make an exception to your rule, then you have to justify that exception. Because, to quote the astronomer Carl Sagan, why not save a step and conclude that the universe has always existed? But even if we agreed the universe had to be created, why assume it only had one creator? A building requires a builder, and a painting requires a painter, but the builder and the painter are usually 2 different people. Not to mention the creation of a building requires a whole construction crew, and a painter requires others to make the brush and paint before they can get to work. So your analogy is actually more of an argument for there being multiple gods. A sky god, a sea god, a rap god. So it's interesting how you assume it's the version of God that happens to align with your religion.
Why is the existence of water, trees, and birds, humans, why is the existence of us not proof enough when we cannot create any of these things?
Because that isn't how proof works. When you don't know something, you don't get to fill in the blank with whatever you want. When you don't know how someone died, you don't get to fill in the blank with it was murder. If a thing is unknown, all that means is that it's unknown. By arguing that the unknown is caused by God, you're actually contradicting yourself. You're basically saying, we don't know, therefore we do know. But if you want to argue that all of these things were created by God, then he also created parasites like mosquitoes. He created the diseases they carry, like malaria, which kills over 500,000 people per year. He made us a source of light that also gives you skin cancer.
But he loves you.
Which brings us to another McClain video called If God is Real, Why Do So Many Bad Things Happen?
People always ask me, if God is real, why do all of these bad things happen? First thing, God gave us free will so that we can love him and it actually be real love. Because we chose to do it. We give ourselves the credit when it's something good that happens, and then we blame God for the bad things when we are the reason.
McClain, how can you believe that God gave us free will when your book says that God knows everything and has perfect knowledge? If God knows everything, then he would know your actions before you make them. They even make this clear in the Bible, like in Psalm 139:4, Psalm 139:16, and Acts 4:28. These verses don't describe free will, but predetermined will, which would mean that God is deliberately making people destined for hell, destined for eternal punishment. Yet again, the Bible makes this clear, like in Proverbs 16:4. But even if we agreed that God gave people free will, this still wouldn't explain every bad thing that happens. Sure, you can blame humans for things like war, pollution, and trickle-down economics, but this still wouldn't account for natural disasters like volcanic eruptions, tornadoes, and earthquakes. If God is all-powerful as the Bible claims he is, then the only reason these things continue to exist is because God allows them to exist. And this neglectful God is who we're meant to love?
Let's talk about this too real quick. God is fair. And since sin is sin, if he punished one sin on sight when it happened, he'd have to do that with everyone.
The problem is not that God doesn't punish every sin on sight. The problem is that if God is real, we can demonstrate that he does not punish every sinner equally. 100,000 children die every year from cancer. Yet a pedophile like Jimmy Savile got away with molesting hundreds of children, until dying famous and wealthy at a comfy 84 years old. How exactly is this meant to be fair? What could these children possibly have done to make them more deserving of punishment than a sexual abuser? Not to mention, we see in the Bible that God is willing to punish you even when you do obey him. The Bible tells the story of a man named Job. He's described as blameless and upright, a man who feared God and shunned evil. And yet, God literally gives Satan permission to destroy Job's life, wiping out his livestock, demolishing his home, and even killing his 10 children. Then God gives Satan the additional permission of hurting Job directly, afflicting him with painful sores. And all of this suffering is done as part of a test of Job's faith, which contradicts the verses we already went over about God knowing everything. No matter which way you cut it, the conclusion is that God is either not all-powerful, not all-loving, or not all-knowing. Or the fourth option, not real.
Imagine if God punished every sin on sight. We'd all be dead.
Yeah, imagine God just killing everyone, maybe through, I don't know, drowning. How crazy would that be? It's a good thing the Bible doesn't have any stories like that. Before wrapping things up, how about we take a look at one more video from McLean, her question for atheists.
Just say hypothetically for a second that God doesn't exist. I'm not saying that people that don't believe in God are not capable of living moral lives. I would never say anything like that. The point of this video is questioning what the foundation for morality is, objective morality, without God.
That's a very good question, McLean. I mean, without God, how do we know the objective way to feel about slavery? Like in 1 Timothy 6:1, where it says slaves should consider their masters worthy of full respect. Or in 1 Peter 2:18, where it commands slaves to submit to their masters, not only those who are good and considerate, whatever that means, but also those who are harsh. Or in Luke 12:47, where it says those who don't follow their master's orders will be beaten with many blows. It's really no wonder why slavery advocates would often cite the Bible. And yet, despite the Bible explicitly condoning slavery, society at large eventually chose to abolish it, not through a Christian morality, but through a secular morality. Not by obeying the Bible, but by disobeying the Bible. The burden is not on atheists to establish an objective morality. The burden is on you to show that our morality has to be objective. Besides, you've yet to prove your own morality is objective. The alleged objectivity is based on the assumption that your God is real, but since you haven't proven that your God is real, why should that premise be accepted?
Because think about it like this. We are teaching our children, don't steal or do any of these things. But I'm only telling you not to do it because it's socially unacceptable.
Did you catch that? McLean began her TikTok by asking atheists what they base their morality on.
What the foundation for morality is, objective morality, without God.
And then she just assumes the answer.
I'm only telling you not to do it because it's socially unacceptable.
I've seen atheists advocate for humanism, and I've seen atheists advocate for utilitarianism, but I've never seen an atheist say we should base our morality on what's socially acceptable. And, conveniently, McLean doesn't provide a single example. So, to quote Christopher Hitchens, what can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence.
As soon as life gives them a good kick in the butt, they're like, Hold on. What has society ever done for me? Society has never done nothing but hurt me and given me insecurity issues, giving me depression, giving me anxiety. Why should I follow these rules though?
McLean, remember what you said at the beginning of your video?
I'm not saying that people that don't believe in God are not capable of living moral lives.
So if atheists are capable of living moral lives when they're hurt by society, isn't it also possible they'll try improving society? Why is your default assumption they'll become the Joker? Christianity in America has been declining for decades now, while those with no religion have been increasing. Has this rise in non-religion led to an increase in crime? No. The crime rate in America has been dropping since the 1990s. Now, that doesn't mean that atheism decreases crime, but it does show that atheism does not increase crime. Furthermore, the most religious part of America is, of course, the Bible Belt, while the least religious part is New England. And yet, the data shows that homicide is actually highest in the Bible Belt, whereas New England is one of the safest parts of the country. McLean, if the only thing holding you back from criminality is your belief in God, that's a you problem, but atheists are doing quite well independently. But China McLean has something even better than data. Her evidence that atheists are more prone to criminality is because Jeffrey Dahmer said so.
If a person doesn't think that there is a God to be accountable to, then what's the point of trying to modify your behavior to keep it within acceptable ranges? That's how I thought anyway.
Yes, McLean, let's take the word of the serial killer. I mean, sure, he lied to multiple men right before butchering them, but now that what he's saying benefits your narrative, now we can believe him. But even if we assume that Dahmer was being honest, I can also point out that there are Christian serial killers, like John Wayne Gacy, a Catholic, and Dennis Rader, a Lutheran. So why is an atheist serial killer deemed a failing of atheism, but Christian serial killers aren't a failing of Christianity? It's actually quite easy to see why a serial killer could also be a Christian. 1 John 1:9 says that as long as you confess your sins, God will forgive you. So how is your religion supposed to prevent crime when it includes a get-out-of-hell-free card? And remember what you said earlier, sin is sin.
Sin is sin.
So following your logic, the sin of murder is equal to the sin of using God's name in vain. So if a Christian can say something like, "God damn it," numerous times over the course of their life and still believe they'll go to heaven, why couldn't a Christian commit a few murders and believe they'll still go to heaven? McLean, if you're really that concerned about preventing crime, maybe you should reconsider having this video on your TikTok. We saw during the pandemic how associating Asians with COVID led to an increase in hate crimes. So what do you think could happen when you associate a minority group with a serial killer? Atheists are already vulnerable to discrimination and bullying, and I can't imagine being compared to Jeffrey Dahmer will make that any better. So again, maybe reconsider keeping this video up. With all of that being said though, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want me to expose more from TikTok, please subscribe, ring the bell, and give this video a thumbs up. I'd also recommend watching my videos on Muslims of TikTok, which I'll have linked on screen. And last but not least, if you want to help support my videos like these amazing people, please consider joining me over on Patreon. Any amount you can give is greatly appreciated. But until next time, have a great day.